myself, Dr. Roma Ghai, Associate Professor from Kite School of Pharmacy, Kite Group of Institutions, Ghaziabad, and I would like to present my topic on communication pharmacovigilance. In my last video, that was a part 1 video, and this is my second part video, and it is a lecture 25, belong to the syllabus of pharmacovigilance BP 80580. So, first of all, to whom the pharmacovigilance people have to communicate. So, it is communicating with regulatory agencies, business partners, healthcare facilities and media. So, we see that the patient brings a complaint of some medicine to the healthcare. The healthcare has to communicate the data to the regulatory. The regulatory ultimately takes the action and communicates to the media as well as the business partners. So, communication with regulatory agencies, business partners, healthcare agencies and media, they are very important to spread the important information. So, ultimately the information will come to the healthcare practitioners and they will be very alert while prescribing a particular drug. Okay. Now, regulatory authorities, okay, what they do actually? Regulatory authorities have provided guidance documents about information. Now, what are these regulatory authorities doing actually? They are monitoring the drugs. So, they are accordingly, if suppose एक ड्रग के साथ एक प्रॉब्लम आती है तो रेगुलेटरी क्या करता है, वो डॉक्यूमेंट्स बनाता है, डॉक्यूमेंट्स डेवलप कराता है कि क्या इंफॉर्मेशन ये हेल्थ केयर को देनी है रेगुलेटरी को. So, who will submit a particular data, how it is to be submitted, what is to be submitted and when it is to be submitted. So, regulatory authorities have made certain guidelines. I will show you these guidelines. All serious adverse drug reactions should be communicated to regulatory authorities within 2 weeks as per US FDA guidance report. I will be showing this later. Who are the partners in an audience in drug safety? We have the partners of manufacturers, regulators, politicians, employees, health professionals, academics and managers. And who is the audience who is receiving the drug? That is public, patient, consumer group. Lawyers, they take the action on a drug. Media, international communicant. These are the audience. Now, if you simply understand that the agency and what is the role of agency in communication. So, first of all, DCGI. You should know that Dr. V.J. Somani is our DCGI and DCGI plays a key role in implementation of National Pharmacovigilance Program. Then we have CDSCO, Central Drug Standard Control Organization. Now, CDSCO is operating along with National Pharmacovigilance Advisory Committee to recommend the regulatory procedures and guidelines. So, again we have to communicate with the CDSCO. Then there is Department of Biotechnology. DBT provides support for pilot and large scale trials on agricultural as well as clinical trials for healthcare products, their evaluation, their validation. Then we have Ministry of Environment and Forests. This advisory committee plays a very important role in approving the guidelines of data entries of environmental experts information, which is gained through, the information is gained through clinical trials for healthcare products and trials for agriculture products. Then we have CBN, that is Central Bureau of Narcotics. Now, CBN, it monitors the clinical trials of narcotics, drugs for compliances related to storage, import, export quota and movement of drugs under investigation. Then we have National Pharmacovigilance Advisory Committee. They aggregate means they collect the data and they compile it, access and documents ADR data to create friendly environment for the regulatory authorities to analyze the drug. तो ये advisory committee किसको communicate करता है? ये communicate करता है regulatory authorities को to analyze the drugs before marketing. Then we have ICMR. So, these are the agencies which are playing a very important role. All these are regulatory agencies. Now, ICMR has introduced the policy statement on ethical consideration involved in research on human subjects. These guidelines are revised by the name of Ethical Guidelines for Biomedical Research in Human Subjects. Then you have another agency, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. It's a very important agency. It sets standards for the drugs, for the pharmaceuticals, healthcare devices as well as medicines in India. So, what do we call drug safety crisis? जब हम बोलते हैं drug safety crisis क्या है? It's a new evidence of serious or fatal ADR. Adverse drug reaction कोई बहुत serious आ गया है, कोई fatal आ गया है, उसका कोई evidence है, that's called drug safety crisis. Drug quality में कुछ problems आ गए, that is also belong to drug safety crisis. Hazardous interaction, drug interactions find out away, that's again a drug safety crisis. Irrational use of the drugs like antibiotic steroids, that is also a drug safety crisis. Medical or prescribing error, लाइक कई बार क्या होता है, कुछ ड्रग्स के नेम सेम होते हैं तो उनकी आवाज़ भी सेम होती है, तो वो गलत ली जाती हैं पेशेंट से, तो दैट इज अगेन अ ड्रग सेफ्टी क्राइसिस. So how will you crisis management and communication? First of all, we have to see what is a crisis. Crisis can be death, crisis can be ADR. So we have to assess all the risks of every kind. Whether क्या ये ड्रग ADR कर रहा है, ड्रग डेथ कर रहा है, ड्रग डिसेबिलिटी प्रोड्यूस कर रहा है. We have to evaluate the seriousness of potential harm. जितना हार्म हो रहा है उसको इवैल्यूएट करने का काम है क्राइसिस मैनेजमेंट टीम को. प्रायोरिटाइज, टेक एक्शन टू रिवर्ट और रिड्यूस द रिस्क, एंटिसिपेट एंड प्लान फॉर लाइकली एंड अनलाइकली इवेंट्स. अगर हमें पता है ये ड्रग कुछ प्रॉब्लम कर सकता है तो हमें पहले से एक प्लान बना लेना चाहिए, ठीक है. एंड प्लान फॉर लाइकली एंड अनलाइकली इवेंट्स. सो क्रिएट, रिहर्स, रिवाइज द क्राइसिस प्लान्स. दिस इज क्राइसिस मैनेजमेंट. सो in crisis we have to communicate quickly, we have to communicate openly, we have to communicate honestly, we have to express regret कि अगर कोई गलती हुई है तो we have to apologize, we have to explain what is being done to solve the crisis and prevent repetition. Now here friends, I would like to tell you about the Australian HRT crisis. HRT stands for hormone replacement therapy. So this crisis, an alarm was raised at 6 a.m. What type of alarm? There was nationwide news. What was the news? That 6 lakhs women, they are at increased risk. Or what? That means they are taking HRT therapy, combined hormone replacement therapy, and they are claimed to increase the risk of thromboembolism in women. What is thromboembolism? It is simply that formation of blood clots in the body. So there was a widespread panic. Expert panel, the crisis management panel immediately assembled. They provide the advice within 2 days and then they resolved the whole crisis. So a particular warning came that HRT therapy can produce blood clots. So the doctors started giving the anticoagulants along with it. So some change was there. So ultimately in crisis management, the process starts with the identification of possible hazard. As I told you, that thromboembolism with hormone replacement therapy. Now the process which starts with the hazard, that hazards needs to be evaluated. कि क्या hazard आया, जैसे मैंने आपका thrombus clotting, blood clotting. This is then evaluated and investigated. Now here I will again I want to tell you that this COVID, it has also caused thromboembolism problems. So that is why immediately the regulatory authorities, they said the doctors must advise anticoagulants to prevent the crisis. Okay. So the hazard was evaluated and then investigated. And if necessary, some action must be taken with a view to minimize the risk. Implementation requires tools for communicating with users, and final step should be that assessment of effectiveness should be made, that how much drug is effective. Benefit risk assessment must be made. Then the start of risk management, I am sorry for this, start of risk management process is usually signal. एक सिग्नल आ जाता है. अब सिग्नल क्या है? सिग्नल है कोई भी इंफॉर्मेशन जो न्यू आई है, जो पहले से नहीं पता थी, कोई नई रिपोर्ट हुई है, reported information or possible causal relationship between an adverse event and a drug, and that relationship is unknown till now or incompletely documented, that we call a signal. एक सिग्नल रेज हो गया तो कोई भी अगर जैसे रिपोर्ट से ही हमें ये सिग्नल्स मिलते हैं, एडीआर रिपोर्ट से, usually more than a single report is required to generate a particular signal, depending upon the seriousness of the report. Now coming to the preparation for crisis, how do we prepare for a particular crisis? We have to make a team who will, अगर कोई crisis आता है तो क्या वो team क्या करेगी? So designated team and authorization to act. Detailed planning by category of crisis. ये crisis serious है, less serious है, कितने, ठीक है, detailed planning. Rehearse procedure, procedure को क्या procedure follow किया जाएगा, क्या plan बनाया जाएगा, उसको review करा जाता है, उसको update किया जाता है. So responsibility of crisis team is to draw up a specific crisis management plan. और इस plan में क्या होना चाहिए, क्या objectives हैं? Expected timelines, likely to be days to a few weeks at most, कि क्या ये प्रॉब्लम कितने टाइम में सॉल्व होती है, एक्सपेक्टेड टाइमलाइन। रिसोर्सेज रिक्वायर्ड, अगर कोई पर्टिकुलर प्रॉब्लम आई है तो हमें इंफॉर्मेशन चाहिए देनी है, तो क्या रिसोर्सेज हमें होने चाहिए। रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटीज ऑफ द टीम, एज आई हैव टोल्ड यू, the key tasks for drug safety crisis team are likely to be the following. Let's see. First one is evaluating the evidence, the proof कि जो hazard है उसको evaluate करना, then taking the right decision making, right? Practical arrangement for implementation, developing external communication materials. So crisis management का काम है. Progress towards the objectives needs to be reviewed daily, and effective internal communication is vital. What it means internal communication? Internal communication हो गया जो टीम के आपस में बीच में मेंबर्स है, internal communication is also vital, और कैसे हमने ऑब्जेक्टिव्स को बेसिकली अचीव करना है, that is also reviewed by crisis management team. A regulatory authority, a company needs to deal with a crisis, so regulatory authority is also involved in crisis management team. How do you react to a crisis? Suppose कोई crisis आ गया, कोई जिस तरह से मैंने बताया कि एक particular drug की वजह से काफ़ी problems आ गई, so हमें immediately क्या होगा, we have to mobilize the crisis team. What do you mean by mobilization? Immediately attentive हो जाना चाहिए crisis team को. Immediate communication to all audience. Immediate हम audience कहाँ क्या होगी, ये health care professionals को immediately हमें बताना चाहिए कि ये drug ये problem कर रहा है. Maybe in the form of posters, maybe in the form of letters, right? Immediate deployment of expert investigative team. Experts हर तरह के investigation की क्या basically hazard में हुआ है. रैपिड रिपोर्टिंग ऑफ फाइंडिंग्स, जो हमें फाइंडिंग्स मिली है इस पर्टिकुलर हैजार्ड में, तो वो रिपोर्ट करना फाइंडिंग्स. रैपिड रेमेडियल एक्शन क्या लेना है. फ्रीक्वेंट कम्युनिकेशन एंड रिव्यू एंड असेसमेंट ऑफ द प्रोसेस. सो दैट इज रिएक्टिंग टू द क्राइसिस. सो मेजरिंग द सक्सेस ऑफ एक्शंस टेकन टू मिनिमाइज द रिस्क इज अ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट स्टेप, कि अल्टीमेटली हम क्या चाहते हैं कि जो क्राइसिस हुआ है वो और लोगों के साथ नहीं हो. अगर कोई पर्सन की डेथ हो गई किसी मेडिसिन की वजह से या ड्रग की वजह से या कोई डिवाइस की वजह से, तो आगे इमीडिएट कोई प्रॉब्लम ना हो. सो मेजरिंग सक्सेस ऑफ एक्शंस टेकन टू मिनिमाइज रिस्क इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. सो पॉसिबल मेथड्स ऑफ इवैल्यूएटिंग द इफेक्टिवनेस ऑफ एक्शंस, लेट्स सी. टेस्टिंग द इफेक्टिवनेस ऑफ कम्युनिकेशन, हैव दे बीन रिसीव्ड एंड अंडरस्टूड. हमें कैसे पता चलेगा, मार्केट रिसर्च टेक्निक्स को फॉलो किया जाएगा और हम देखेंगे कि क्या वो ड्रग अभी भी प्रिस्क्राइब हो रहा है. एनालाइजिंग द इफेक्ट ऑन प्रिस्क्राइबिंग, जैसे मैंने बता दिया पहले, क्या वो ड्रग इफेक्टिव है, कितना इफेक्टिव है और कितना प्रिस्क्राइब हो रहा है. एक्सटेंट, क्या उस पर प्रिस्क्राइबिंग हैबिट्स मॉडिफाई, डॉक्टर्स की मॉडिफाई हुई है या नहीं हुई, या अभी भी वही ड्रग चल रहा है, राइट. प्रिस्क्राइबिंग हैबिट्स आर मॉडिफाइड एंड इट शुड बी कंसिस्टेंट विद रिवाइज्ड रिकमेंडेशन बनाई जाती हैं. Monitoring spontaneous reported cases to see whether serious cases continue to be reported. Reporting, ये crisis management team क्या करती है, वो check करती है कि क्या आगे भी ऐसे serious cases report किए जा रहे हैं, right? So this may be difficult to interpret. Why? Because publicity bias. कुछ public patients inform करते हैं pharmacovigilance regulatory authorities को, कुछ नहीं करते हैं. So this may be difficult, right? ऑब्जर्वेशन, फॉर्मल स्टडी ऑफ प्रिस्क्राइबिंग एंड इवेंट्स, ऑब्जर्व करना डायरेक्टली कि क्या कितना प्रिस्क्राइबिंग है, कितना इवेंट्स हुए हैं. Okay. Has the action resulted in reduced morbidity or reduced mortality from ADA in practice? क्या लोगों की डेथ्स कम हुई हैं, क्या लोगों की डिसेबिलिटीज कम हुई हैं, ये सब चीज़ें चेक करी जाती हैं. सो अकॉर्डिंग टू यूएसएफडीए ने स्पेशली क्या बनाया है, Dear Healthcare Professional Letters, which is called Dear Doctor Letters. They are the pieces of correspondence mailed from a pharmaceutical product manufacturer. So you can see here, the manufacturer is directly writing to the doctor. What type of letter is there? Dear Healthcare Professional Letters are there. So subtitleable letters are written by the manufacturer or distributor to the physicians. And what type of information is conveyed? To convey product safety information. So communication is termed as Dear Healthcare Provider Letters. तो आगे वाली PPTs में स्लाइड्स में मेरा DHCP वर्ड बार बार आएगा, आप लोग प्लीज याद रखिए. Dear, D stands for Dear, H stands for Health, C stands for Care and P stands for Provider. So Dear Healthcare Provider Letters are the way of communicating. टू द डॉक्टर कि ये अलर्ट आया है और इसको आप बंद कर दीजिए प्रिस्क्राइब करना, ठीक है। तो ये क्या करता है, अलर्ट करता है फिजिशियंस को, इट अलर्ट्स द अदर हेल्थ केयर प्रोवाइडर्स अबाउट इंपॉर्टेंट न्यू और अपडेटेड इंफॉर्मेशन रिगार्डिंग अ ह्यूमन ड्रग और बायोलॉजिक और डिवाइस। So DHCP may be distributed by email, email के through letters भेजे जा सकते हैं. It can be made available on the internet like company website, right? And US FDA has provided guidance about such communication. I'll be showing you what are the guidance now, because US FDA is what regulatory authority. So this guidance will provide recommendation on when to issue a DHCP letter, types of information to be included in DHCP letter, how to organize the information so that it can be communicated effectively to healthcare providers, formatting techniques to make the information more accessible. So ये guidance सब तरह बताता है कि कब issue करना है dear healthcare provider letter, किस तरह की information include करनी है, कैसे information को organize करना है. So certain information should only reach the physicians. Like अगर कोई हमें new ADR मिला to existing drug तो हमें ये लिखना है DHCP letter. Packaging में change हुआ तब information should immediately reach to the doctor. If mass mailing through internet can be one of the effective manner through which the easily we can mail to the doctors. In addition, publication of newsletter, अगर हम newsletter एक बना देते हैं for a professional group, that can also be another alternative, right? So if you see, you can see here the guidance for industry and FDA staff. और आप ये देख रहे हैं कि डियर हेल्थ केयर प्रोवाइडर लेटर्स, तो पूरा FDA ने गाइडेंस बनाई हुई है, गाइडेंस डॉक्यूमेंट्स बनाए हुए हैं कि किस तरीके से भी आप कैन इंप्रूव कम्युनिकेशन ऑफ इंपॉर्टेंट सेफ्टी इंफॉर्मेशन, बिकॉज FDA believes that effective communication is very very important and it can be accomplished if FDA and manufacturer both are working together, ठीक है. Whether it should be used to convey new information, ये सारी गाइडलाइंस बताती हैं. How to present new information in letter, letter में कैसे information देनी है. Target audience for the information DHCP letter, that also guidance is telling. Time frame for distributing DHCP letter, all this is told by the guidelines. These are the guidelines. So FDA क्या encourage कर रहा है, जैसे ही हमें कोई ड्रग पर्टिकुलर पता चले कि कोई प्रॉब्लम आई है, कुछ पर्टिकुलर हैजार्ड आया है, कोई हार्म आया है, so FDA encourages manufacturers to consult with the appropriate review division. FDA through this particular guidance क्या manufacturers should consult, किसको consult करना चाहिए, review division. कौन सी review division को, offices of drug evaluation, with the office of new drugs, with the office of generic drugs, during the development DHCP letter. That means manufacturer को proactive रहना पड़ेगा, DHCP letter कैसे बनानी है, ताकि आपस की जो अंडरस्टैंडिंग है वो प्रॉपर्ली कम्युनिकेट हो सके, to ensure that the letter clearly, accurately reflects both the manufacturers and FDA's understanding of the issue and the action which is required from the doctors. तो ये इस तरह का DHCP लेटर लिखा जाता है. अब DHCP लेटर्स को तीन तरीके से किया है. वन इज इंपॉर्टेंट ड्रग वार्निंग लेटर, इंपॉर्टेंट प्रिस्क्राइबिंग इंफॉर्मेशन लेटर्स एंड इंपॉर्टेंट करेक्शन ऑफ ड्रग इंफॉर्मेशन लेटर्स. तो लेट्स सी इंपॉर्टेंट ड्रग वार्निंग लेटर्स क्या होते हैं. इंपॉर्टेंट ड्रग वार्निंग लेटर्स दे आर यूज्ड टू कन्वे इंपॉर्टेंट न्यू, प्लीज रिमेंबर न्यू सेफ्टी इंफॉर्मेशन दैट कंसर्न अ सिग्निफिकेंट हैजार्ड टू हेल्थ. स्टूडेंट्स, मैं बार बार हैजार्ड वर्ड बोल रही हूँ, दैट मीन्स हार्म. कुछ प्रॉब्लम आई है ड्रग के साथ, दैट्स अ हैजार्ड. ओके, कुछ डेथ्स हुई हैं, कुछ बैड इफेक्ट्स आए हैं, दैट्स अ हैजार्ड. ओके, सो इंपॉर्टेंट ड्रग वार्निंग लेटर्स आर यूज्ड टू कन्वे इंपॉर्टेंट न्यू सेफ्टी इंफॉर्मेशन that can concern a significant hazard to health. Therefore, it should affect the decision to use a drug or require change in behavior concerning the use of the drug. यानी कि इस टाइम ऐसा चेंज मतलब बोला जाता है कि डॉक्टर्स को प्रिस्क्राइबिंग थोड़ा चेंज करना चाहिए, ड्रग का यूज का डिसीजन डॉक्टर्स को ध्यान से करना चाहिए. इस तरह का ड्रग वार्निंग लेटर आता है. अब क्या क्या चीज़ें हैं जो बेसिकली ड्रग वार्निंग लेटर्स भेजी जाती है जिसकी वजह से. One is previously unknown serious or life-threatening ADR. अगर serious life-threatening ADR है, then important drug warning letter should be given. Clinically important new information है about a known ADR, कोई new information, then drug warning letter should be given. Identification of subpopulation greater risk in whom drugs should be used with caution. For example, like HIV patients, patient with renal hepatic failure, कुछ drugs इनमें नहीं दिए जाते. तो अगर हमें इस तरह का information देना है डॉक्टर्स को, तो हमें ड्रग वार्निंग लेटर यूज करना पड़ेगा. सब पॉपुलेशन, फॉर एग्जांपल population with renal problem, population with hepatic problem, it could be HIV positive problem, okay, right. So the added caution should be there. Identify subpopulation in which drug is contraindicated. Drug should not be used. For example, children or maybe elderly. So drug warning letters. A drug interaction has happened, a medication error has happened. That has resulted in serious adverse drug reaction. Drug warning letter is given. Implementation of a new or modified REMS. What is REMS? That is risk evaluation mitigation strategy. Strategy कुछ change हुई है तो तब important drug warning letters दिए जाते हैं. Important prescribing information letters ये कब use करते हैं? They are used to convey important changes to the prescribing information. कि prescribing information कैसे? जैसे हमने drug को मतलब समझ लीजिए उसकी dose change कर दी, उसका duration change कर दिया, तो जब prescribing behavior change कर दिया, ठीक है? Other than those changes that are described in an important drug warning letter. So it can be changed the indication, it can be changed usage to minimize risk, improve effectiveness, or convey a limitation of indications. It could be changed the dose, dosage regimen. हमें लग रहा है 650 mg. आपको पता होगा कि जैसे क्रोसिन आई थी 1000 mg की कुछ टाइम पहले, तो देखा गया 1000 mg के साथ थोड़ी प्रॉब्लम हो रही है. तो then prescribing information letters were given that the crocin should be, the drug should be reduced to 650 mg maximum. Okay. So change of dosage was told. Dosage regimen is told to minimize risk or improve effectiveness. So what type of letter will be given? Prescribing information letter. Change supply of the drug to address a drug shortage issue. Suppose कोई drug shortage में आ रहा है तो हम कहते हैं alternative इसका use कर लो, तो prescribing information letter में ये दिया जाता है. Then important correction of drug information letters are intended to correct the false or misleading information. So important correction drug information letters are also there. Okay, any to correct false, misleading information or other misinformation in the prescription or drug promotional labeling and advertising. That is also a subject of a warning letter. Now, what are target audience? As I have already told you, DHCP letter should be directed to all healthcare providers because they are the people who will be prescribing. They are the people who will be dispensing. Pharmacists आ जाते हैं इसमें, doctors आ जाते हैं, nurses आ जाती हैं, administer the drug, as well as others who should need to know the information. The letter should be directed to full range of healthcare providers who could prescribe the drug, nurse practitioners, physician assistants who have got the prescribing authority. So DHCP letter can also be sent to other healthcare providers who may need to know the information. इनको पता होनी चाहिए information, कुछ problem हुई है, even if they are not prescribing. So see, pharmacists are not prescribing, but they should be informed through this DHCP letter. Clinical pharmacist needs to be informed. Okay, so DHCP letter is also sent to other healthcare providers by the manufacturers. Okay, who may need to know the information even if they do not prescribe the drug, even if they do not prescribe the drug. For example, emergency departments, for example, primary physicians might not routinely prescribe the drug, so they should know it. Okay, what is the warnings given? Whether there is some drug-induced disease is also there, that is also told. So similarly, DHCP letter that announces the introduction of a new medication guide, that should be also sent to the pharmacist and to distribute, so that that guide can be distributed to the patients. Just a minute. So how do you communicate with media? You have print magazines, newspapers, community newspapers, electronic radio, TV, internet, local and national levels. So communication is done through magazines, newspapers, newsletters, radio. Now radio is not there, TV, internet. Now as you can see, drug safety communication. So US FDA communicates safety issues to the general public as early as possible through DSC. As you can see, this is the drug safety communication letter. You can open it in the internet, there is drug safety communication. US FDA publishes articles in medical journals. This is how they communicate to explain the evidence and analysis used by FDA to make its benefit risk assessment for specific drugs. So US FDA articles publish करवाते हैं in medical journals also. US FDA regularly seeks advice from its internal drug safety oversight board, and that board is made up of many members. There are many representatives. The representatives are from CDC, from Veteran Administration, from Department of Defense, from NIH, from Agency for Healthcare Research, from Risk Communication Advisory Committee of outside experts. एंड ऑन एंड मतलब ये सारी जितनी भी कमेटी है यूएस एफडीए इनसे टाइम टू टाइम एडवाइसेस लेते हैं. So these are the examples of drug safety communications. Like FDA has requested on 20th July 2021, FDA has requested removal of strongest warning against using cholesterol lowering statins during pregnancy कि pregnancy में नहीं देना चाहिए. तो ये क्या हो गया drug safety communication. ठीक है. Still advises most pregnant patients should stop taking the statins. ठीक है. Warning, strongest warning. FDA warns that vapors from alcohol-based hand sanitizers can have side effects. ये FDA की warning है. Due to serious liver injury, FDA restricts the use of Ocaliva. Ocaliva is nothing but obeticholic acid in primary biliary cholangitis. So these are some examples as I am showing you. FDA on 31st March 2021, studies showed increased risk of heart rhythm problems with seizures, mental health medicine, lamotrigine. The lamotrigine is giving us some harmful effect. It is harming the mental health, it's harming the heart. तो immediately US FDA ड्रग सेफ्टी कम्युनिकेशन लेटर के थ्रू ये अपने हेल्थ के प्रोफेशनल्स को पहुंचा देते हैं. FDA warns that abuse and misuse of nasal decongestant, propylhexidine can cause serious harm. तो इस तरीके से ड्रग सेफ्टी कम्युनिकेशन लेटर के थ्रू US FDA communicates to the general public. Okay. So before I end this, we should all know that communication pharmacovigilance is very, very important if we want the public to remain safe, if we want to change the behavior of prescribing with doctors. तो अगर ये ड्रग सेफ्टी कम्युनिकेशन एग्जाम्पल में लेती हूँ, अगर हमें पता चल गया, let me take two examples. One is we know Ocaliva. Ocaliva is given, restricts the use of Ocaliva in primary biliary cholangitis, patient with advanced cirrhosis. Now basically Ocaliva drug के साथ जैसे देखा कि लिवर इंजरी प्रॉब्लम्स है, कैसे पता चला? इनके लिवर रिपोर्ट्स देखे गई, लिवर टेस्ट देखे गए, डॉक्टर्स ने पेशेंट्स के लिवर टेस्ट देखे, तो उससे पता चला कि लिवर इज गेटिंग इंजर्ड. दैट इज वाई. तो यूएस एफडीए का एम क्या था कि डॉक्टर शुड नॉट प्रिस्क्राइब द ड्रग्स who are having some liver problems. That was the main aim of US FDA. Similarly, FDA is lamotrigine. Lamotrigine is an anti-seizure drug. Lamotrigine is an anti-seizure drug. So automatically जैसे ही सेफ्टी कम्युनिकेशन हुआ तो उस अलर्ट किसको मिला? हेल्थ के प्रोवाइडर्स को. हेल्थ के प्रोवाइडर्स ध्यान देंगे कि ये लैमोट्रिजीन, ठीक है, जिनको हार्ट प्रॉब्लम्स हैं, जैसे कि जिनमें हार्ट रिदम रिस्क इंक्रीज हो सकता है, उनमें एट्रियल फिब्रिलेशन हो सकता है, राइट, ये इंक्रीज रिस्क ऑफ हार्ट रिदम प्रॉब्लम्स देखी गई हैं. तो उस हार्ट डिजीज़ में उस पर्टिकुलर ड्रग को प्रिस्क्राइब नहीं किया जाएगा. तो इस तरीके से काफ़ी सारे एग्जाम्पल्स हैं. अगर आप इस साइट पे जाएंगे तो आपको बहुत सारे एग्जाम्पल्स मिलेंगे स्टूडेंट्स, एंड यू कैन अंडरस्टैंड how this effective communication can ensure the safety of public. So thank you all. These are the references, and thank you so much for listening patiently.